How does attachment style play out in relationship development?
Yeah, so attachment style is really prevalent in most relationships, if not all relationships. And it's really common for couples to fall into what's called an anxious avoidant loop. And to start, for lots of reasons, avoidant people are attracted to anxious people are attracted to avoidant people. It's what's familiar to us. And so what ends up happening is that the fear of avoidance is losing freedom and autonomy. That's their fear. The fear of anxiously attached people is the fear of abandonment. And so what ends up happening is the avoidant person will usually start off this loop, and they may subconsciously be a little bit disengaged with the relationship. They're kind of focused on their own thing. And then the anxiously attached partner will pick up on that distance. And that will make that partner feel nervous about the relationship. And so then they will go closer. And so they'll want to spend more time together, or they'll say, "You're not texting me enough." And then that avoidant partner now will clock, okay, this is a lot. This is too much. They start to get triggered and push away even more, which makes the anxiously attached partner feel even more nervous about the relationship. So they'll push harder to get closer. So they just start to trigger each other, and you end up in this loop. And so the way to break out of that loop is that one of those two partners has to extend the olive branch and give the other one what they need.
Do do those roles ever flip? Like, does the anxious attachment person ever become the avoidant attachment person?
Within the context of that specific relationship, usually no.
Okay.
But attachment style can change based on the type of relationship that you're in. So, for example, if you lean slightly anxiously attached and you're with an avoidant partner, you will continue to be anxiously attached. But if you're with a very anxiously attached partner, you may feel, ooh, this is too much, and you may start to lean a little bit avoidant. So that can change.
Interesting. How much of a predictor is that in relationships? Like, if you have two anxious people that are coming together, what's like the odds of success in that relationship? How does that dynamic look?
Sure. So if it's two anxiously attached partners, they tend to become enmeshed. Like they don't want any distance from each other, and that can cause its own issues.
Right.
But the thing that comes up the most is when there's a very avoidantly attached partner and a very anxiously attached partner, and it becomes very hard to bridge that gap because those partners are constantly triggering each other's nervous systems. Those relationships have the hardest time succeeding.
Got you. So with this, you're not necessarily looking at opposite ends of the spectrum as a determiner of success. You're more so looking at how close they are.
So if they are closer together, so in a perfect world, there's also the secure attachment style.
Right.
So if someone is anxiously attached, in a perfect world, they would find a secure partner. An avoidantly attached person would do the same, and that would be great. If two people are very far apart on the spectrum, that relationship is probably not going to go well. And when I do my matchmaking, I don't pair people together who are far apart on that spectrum. If someone is a little bit avoidantly leaning and a little bit anxiously leaning, no problem. I'll
Mhm.
put them together because they can navigate that.
Right. How do you go about determining that, like their attachment styles?
I have an attachment quiz that I integrate into my questionnaire, and those questions will bear out
Right.
how far leaning they are.
Got you. What's an example of one of those questions? Like for the viewer, if they're wondering, am I more this or this? Like, what is one of those questions?
Yeah, so one would be, I'm in fear that my partner will leave me.
Mhm.
Or if I get out of a relationship, I'm concerned I won't find another one. Or from the avoidant perspective, it would be, I feel a sense of relief when a relationship ends. Or if I see that my partner might be interested in other people, it doesn't really bother me. Those types of things might be more avoidant leaning.
Got you. And so, say you're in a relationship, we're stuck in this loop, right? One person is anxious avoidant, the other person is maybe secure, or maybe they're, whatever the case may be. You're in this feedback loop that's it's perpetual. It just seems to never end. How do you actually go about extending the olive branch? How do you break that cycle?
Yeah, you want to focus on, well, what are your partner's fears? So if you're with an anxiously attached partner and they have a fear of abandonment, it might be as simple as, let me give you a hug right now, right? Like you're anxious about a relationship, you're nervous about it. Let me give you a hug and let's just like be here together.
Mm,
Or verbally, you can say, hey, I'm not going anywhere. Like we're going to work this out.
gotcha.
That's a great way to extend that.
Are attachment styles more prevalent amongst men or women? Or the
Everyone has an
distribution is pretty.
Oh, you're
Well,
talking
I'm
about
saying like are more men do men typically lean more on the anxious side of the spectrum, avoidant, secure? Do you kind of see that trend?
so I don't fully know the answer to that. In my experience with the data that I have with the matchmaking questionnaire, and my exposure to people in general, I tend to see more avoidant tendencies in men and more anxious tendencies in women.
Okay, got you. And so what do you, because obviously we're both guys, we can pretty much only speak for the guys, but what do you think that's attributive to?
So it could be a overbearing mother situation. So if we have mothers who are very in our stuff, and we feel like we didn't have as much freedom or autonomy when we were kids, that might present itself when we were older. And certainly in my experience, so I lean avoidant as my default. And that was certainly my experience growing up is I had a mother who was very anxious, and I don't mean an attachment style, just like anxious as a person. And so if something were to come up in my own life, I would know that she would also have this emotional reaction. So it was better just to kind of like not bring things up. And so I would avoid those types of conversations or that type of relationship. And then that's very common with attachment style. That's where it comes from. It comes from your childhood, and you bring that same pattern into your romantic relationships. So, what I would tend to do in my romantic relationships is I don't want to bring this up with my partner because she's going to have this big emotional reaction and I don't want to deal with it. And I would equate that intimacy or those conversations that had any sort of emotional tinge to it, that would be the result.
Got you. And so if say that I'm anxious to bring something up to my girlfriend because I feel like she might blow up. Um, whether she's being sad or she's angry or whatever, how does how should I go about presenting that information to her? Because at the end of the day, it does still kind of need to get told.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this is the healthy side of me speaking. Like things do need to come out and things need to get discussed. And so under that assumption, how does a guy or how does a girl roll out that information?
Yeah. So the first thing that I'll say is if an avoidant partner hasn't yet given their partner a chance to show up for them in a way that wouldn't be in this very anxious, emotional type of way, give it a shot. One of the best pieces of advice that a therapist gave me was, your girlfriend's not your mom, right? Why don't you give her a shot? So
Yeah.
that creates that safety. You can start to give um, some steps, or you can try it out. You can start doing some reps of being a little vulnerable with your partner and being like, hey, this thing bothered me, or hey, like I'm nervous about this situation, and give them an opportunity to be like, okay, cool. Yeah, no worries. And then that makes you feel safe. And then you want to do it more and more. If you have a partner who has a big emotional reaction, and that can make you feel like, oh, this isn't a safe space. And then at that point, I think my advice there would be, hey, I needed to let you know a little bit about my history. Here's how I grew up. Here's my attachment style. It requires a lot of self awareness. And that's a thing that a lot of people um, don't necessarily have naturally in this context. It requires some research and some inner work and some self growth. So, in that context, it's important to understand how we work so that we can explain it to our partners and say, hey, so when you react like this, it kind of triggers this stuff that I have going on from my past. It would really help me out. I would love it so much if you could react this way. That would help me. And you can just have a dialogue.
How would I go about figuring out my attachment style?
Well, the first thing is to probably read a book about it or listen to a podcast. to even understand what attachment style is, where it comes from. And a great book to start with is called Attached. It's a short read. It was a light bulb moment for me when I read it. And there is an attachment style quiz in that book that will help determine where you land on the spectrum.
Got you. Is there, if you were going to build the perfect couple, right, in terms of matchmaking attachment styles, what does that look like?
Two secure people.
Got it.
It's almost impossible. We all have our stuff.
Yeah. Yes, we do. So you recently had a couple get married.
I do.
Talk about that process from start to finish and how you are going to use that data to try to replicate the result.
It's a great question. So the first thing I'll say about that experience is I talked to him the next day after the date, and I was very intentional about what picture I shared with him of the girl. She had this whole tattoo sleeve going on, and I didn't want to show him that right away. I wanted them to meet in person first. And what he had said to me was, if I had seen that, I would have swiped left on her on Hinge, or if you had showed me that picture, I probably wouldn't have been interested in the date. I am so glad that I just met her in person because we hit it off right away. She's amazing. A 30-minute date turned into a 3-hour date. And I think that, first off, that's an important thing to note for all of us, that we make assumptions about what we want, and we create entire narratives based on one single data point. And I think this is a whole other topic, but with dating apps, which we'll probably get into later, it's a big problem with dating apps because you see one little thing on someone's profile, like a tattoo sleeve, and you make all these assumptions about who they are, and you might swipe left on someone who otherwise would be a really great match. So get back to your question about what made them a good match and how I'll use that data. Their attachment styles were, I kind of think about it in three categories. One is long-term compatibility factors. The other are personality factors. And then there's physical attraction. So from the long-term compatibility factors, those are things like attachment style, core values, love languages. So love languages, there's acts of service, words of affirmation, physical touch. I don't know if you're familiar with those things, right?
I've been educated.
Awesome. Let's go. Bet some books.
Yeah.
Listen to some podcasts.
Yes, I've tried.
So if those types of things align, that's really helpful for long-term compatibility. And some of those things are weighted more than others. So attachment style, I weight way more heavily than love languages. Love languages is something that can be navigated much more easily. And then for personality factors, it's things like, what are you interested in? Like even what content you listen to, watch. And then I do have some questions around like, what are your personality types and things like that. So these people had a lot of things in common. Their attachment styles aligned, their love languages aligned. I mean, it was a very just across the board and compatible match. So in the future, probably just put into ChatGPT, hey, these factors aligned perfectly, where they got married, a year and 3 months after, a year and 4 months after I matched them. So
That is insane.
find more matches like this. Yeah.
Wow. So you would say, based on that particular result, the highest lever was attachment style, or was there something else that stood out more?
So I actually don't think that in the short term, in terms of like what makes us attracted to each other, that attachment style is going to tell us the most information. To be totally honest,
Right.
people who are far apart on the spectrum are going to probably have the most chemistry. So if I put a level 5 avoidant with a level 5 anxious person, they're going to have a lot of spark, a lot of chemistry. Are they going to go the distance? Probably not. They're going to run into some major problems. So I could match people in a way where they're like, oh man, that was such a great match, Danny. Like we hit it off. We had so much chemistry. But I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that because that just perpetuates
6 months down the line,
Exactly.
then it's, we didn't work out and it's Danny's fault.
Exactly.
Yeah. Gotcha. While you're saying all of this, I don't know if you can see the wheels turning in my head. I'm constantly comparing, okay, which one am I? Which one is my girlfriend's name is Jamie. And I'm constantly going, which one am I? Which one is Jamie? How does Jamie match up to this thing? And do we work? Obviously, we work pretty freaking well together. We've been together for 5.5 years. But say that I'm like a single guy and I'm currently 22 years old, about to graduate college. Use me as a case study. I walk in, I hit you up on Instagram or whatever, and I'm like, Danny, there's no good women for me. I don't know where to find them. Like, I'm in Austin. I'm looking for love. I want to settle down. What do you do from there?
Yeah, man. The very first thing that I would say is get out there and meet more people, make friendships, make community around yourself, and for the love of God, make platonic friendships with women. If all you're doing is hanging out with bros and you have no contact with women, you're not going to understand how to interact with them. You're going to put them on a pedestal in a lot of cases when they're just people, man, just like us. Like we're all just people.
They're big and scary.
They're not big and skirty, man.
I know. I hear it and it's like, but it's also because I think for guys who are comfortable talking to girls, I've always been really comfortable around women. It's also blown up in my face because it starts out as platonic and then it's not, and then it's I no longer have a friendship.
Mm.
And so, but on the other end of that spectrum, and this idea is actually not mine. Are you familiar with Chris Williamson?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he talks about the aftershock of like the whole Me Too movement, and he's talking about the people who really needed to listen to the results of the Me Too movement and like not get involved and not be too pushy. Those are the same people who are already breaking through all of those boundaries anyways, and so then they're not listening and they're still continuing to break through the boundaries. Whereas the people that Me Too did not apply to at all, the ones who were already uncomfortable talking to women, are now even more on the side of, oh, well, I can't talk to women because, you know, they're all afraid of men. They think that I'm trying to like do something to them and whatever. And then so then they become even more of a hermit, which we'll talk about later is more like the incel culture side of things. And so it's like the the people who needed to listen to the message are the same ones who never even heard it in the first place and completely disregard everything anyways.
Hmm. That's a hot take, and it's a little black and white. I think that there's
Right.
probably a significant percentage of men who needed to hear those stories and see that there was some gray area and maybe that they should act a little bit differently than what they were
Yeah.
on some of these edge cases. So I think that the Me Too movement was a significant benefit overall, and I think
Okay.
that sure there might have been a pendulum shift that needs to kind of shift more towards a middle ground, and hopefully some of these conversations that we are having can help shift people towards more of a moderate
Yeah.
viewpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my thought because me and you are of the sane variety. And so when I hear all like the Me Too stuff, it doesn't make me think, oh, well, now I definitely can't talk to women. It's like, oh, no, just don't be creepy.
Yeah.
That's all it comes to. Like, just don't be creepy. So, like, okay, you have a guy, he's fresh out of high school, never been in a relationship because those numbers are rising. And so, how do you galvanize him into action to actually go out and start talking to more women?
Yeah. So such a good question. And I'll repeat that it's important to make friendships with women. That is a great first start. And join communities where you are actually interested in the thing. It could be rock climbing. It could be the two-stepping community here in Austin. If you like listening to country music and go learn how to dance. I mean, that's a superpower that we can talk about later in terms of meeting girls. Like, and the number of men who take me up on that advice is like pretty much zero. And I'm like, you're an idiot because that is like the superpower, right? Um, but if you are authentically interested in the thing, and it can be going to church and getting involved in church activities, just meet people and both men and women and learn how to just interact with people on a human to human level. And I promise you those social skills will then lend itself into talking to women. And a more intentional approach would be for people who really are incredibly shy, they can just start with a stair step approach of saying hi to people. And it could be in passing on the street, just like, hi, and then move on. Or yeah. And then it's that exposure therapy, right? It's this concept of, okay, I didn't die. Like I'm still here. I survived that. I can say hi to people and they don't think I'm a big weirdo. Or if they do, it doesn't matter because I'm okay, right? And then over time you can increase that to giving compliments. And it's like, okay, great. I was having like this social interaction. Now I can increase it a little bit, and so on and so forth. And I still am an introverted guy. Even still, when I go to parties and I talk to people, I have to take breaks and go into the bathroom and like look in the mirror and do one of these and go, okay, do I want to go back out there and like do this, or I want to go home? Like, so even if you're a shy, introverted guy, you can learn these social skills. Like, I just want to emphasize that all of this is a skill and it can be learned no matter how shy you are. And the other thing I want to add to this is the importance of not being not letting failure the fear of failure, not letting the fear of failure stop you from doing the thing. Because if it's just going to make you sit in your room for the rest of your life, not taking action, courage is doing the thing, even though it's scary. And so I think that by putting yourself in these exposure therapy, is that the right term?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. So have you had experiences with that? Like, was this like a natural thing, or did you go through this period of like, oh, I have to learn how to overcome this fear of talking to people?
Great question. The best story that I have around this is actually how I ended up with my current girlfriend. So, I grew up with a single dad, and so never talked to my mom, never knew her, never even saw her. And so I was helping my dad pick up women on his college campus. I was 20 when he was born, and we had a game called point and shoot. And so he would point out a girl who he thought was attractive, and I would run up and hug her leg. And so and so from the first picture I ever have of me in school is milkshake day at school. The teacher was one milkshake short, and I thought the girl next to me was pretty. And so I said, "Hey, teacher, can I get another straw?" Brings me the straw, and the picture is me and the girl sharing the milkshake.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and so I was always incredibly comfortable around women. It was never an issue for me. However, 7th grade, I'm in this new middle school. I see this girl drinking out of a water fountain. I think she's incredibly attractive. Frozen for the first time in my life, just dead frozen. And
It's her high, man.
yeah, and then I go, oh, she's different. Okay, a full year goes by, not one word said. And I'm talking to other girls and whatever, but 8th grade year rolls around. I find out me and her have the same class. I sit in the first seat by the front door, and I'm the first one in there every day, hoping that she drops something so that I can like pick it up and give it to her. And my self-confidence in that particular situation was incredibly low. I was terrified to talk to her. She ends up talking to and semi-dating the guy sitting right next to me.
Dang.
To the left. Yeah, dang is right. And so I'm like, oh, well, struck out with that one. My sophomore year rolls around. It's post-COVID, and I get her number. I'm like, okay, I feel pretty good about it. I'm gonna try to go get her number. And I got her number from her best friend, who is actually one of my exes at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'd go, and this is how high my confidence was at that point. I go and ask my ex for her best friend's number. Crazy, I know. I get it. I'm the first guy that she ever gave out the number to.
Nice.
Yeah, first guy ever. And so I'm like,
By the way,
what do I
I'm just going to say the importance of having female friends, right?
yes, totally. And it's like, well, what was interesting too is, yeah, I was a basketball player, and all of my friends were athletes, outside of like 5%. And so this girl, my girlfriend at the time, she's a band nerd. Like, she was a drum major and all this stuff. I had zero interest in her band stuff. I just thought she was hot. And it's funny because once we started dating, we didn't go on our first date until 6 months after I sent her the first text.
What happened during that 6 months?
That's a great question. I think he was just really stagnant.
A lot of Snapchat.
Yeah, I mean, like, just texting and just being like, oh. So I asked her to be my girlfriend 3 times.
Okay.
First 2 times, obviously, she said no. And so the first time was, oh, well, I'm not really, like, allowed to have a boyfriend. Like, I've never had one before. My parents aren't really cool with it. She's a good Christian girl, right? And so I was like, okay, well, we can just be friends. For some reason, she kept talking to me, like she didn't know what my intentions were. Second time, I asked her on a date, and I was like, yeah, like, I want you to be my girlfriend. Let's go on this date. And she was like, no, like, I'm not really feeling it. Like, whatever. Uh, we like stopped talking for a little bit. And then the third time was like, all right, like we had started talking again. Third time I was like, look, this is my last like full send day after Christmas. I know you're not doing anything. Like, let's go do something. She said yes. And remember how I told you before how you would think I did everything wrong?
Uh-huh.
This is where I went wrong. So we go on the first date. Amazing time. She takes me back home to meet her family on the first date.
Wow.
Right. I'm mortified. Her parents end up being super cool. I texted her that I loved her after the first date.
Oh.
On the way home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I told my girlfriend that I loved her at the end of the first date. Crazy.
What was her reaction?
Well, it was through text, and so I don't know what her physical reaction, which is even worse.
Oh, buddy.
So I don't know what her physical reaction was, but she didn't break up with me.
That's good.
Yeah. And so, and then a month later, she like accidentally said like, yeah, I love you too. And I was like, oh, thank God. Well, and
That's good.
yeah, and then we've been going solid ever since. So
Nice, man.
that's kind of like the whole arc of the story. But I guess to get back to your original question, yes, in that moment, like when the stakes were high and subconsciously I kind of knew like whatever. But when sophomore year rolled around, it was like, all right, I don't want to talk to any more girls. Like I'm kind of done with it. I want a solid long-term relationship. Like, and for me, long-term at the time was like a year.
Sure.
And so, yeah, 5.5 years later, here we are.
Well, good for you for overcoming that fear and going for it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was very scary. It was scary for probably the first 2 years of the relationship because it's just like, oh, like I don't want to mess up, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
How did you get over that fear of, oh man, I'm gonna mess up? Were you walking on eggshells for a couple years?
No, I was myself, but the main point of tension was she wanted me to change certain things and not anything crazy like how I dressed, or she was begging me to grow my hair out because I was rocking a buzz cut for a long time. Um Crazy, I know. And I ended up doing it obviously, but she was like she wanted me to change things and I was like, I don't like this. Like no, just like me for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think once I had that conversation, it's like, hey, these things probably will change because we're growing up, but like, just let me grow into it on my own time. And then she was like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of the thing. But I don't know. She's great, man. She's awesome.
Do you feel like your girlfriend has leveled you up?
Oh, for sure, for sure.
I mean, hair looks good, man.
Thanks, man. Well, I'm way more ambitious. I dress better. I feel better about myself. I have a closer relationship with the Lord, which is awesome. I mean, just so many things. Like, I definitely make more money because I'm with her.
Tell me more about that. Why?
Well, we're getting close to the point where it's like we're looking at getting married. We've been talking about it for a while, and so it's getting close to that point. And for me, I want to know for sure that I can provide for not just one person, but for two people. And so, it drives me harder. I work in sales, and so I'm 100% commission, and so I eat what I kill. And so for me, it's like that's an extra motivator for whenever I'm selling. It's like I got this thing in the back of my head where it's like,
Gives you some purpose.
yeah, because it's like, oh, 2-3 years from now, whenever we're married, if I don't sell, well, then she doesn't eat,
Mm-hmm.
and that doesn't feel good. And so
Well, what does she do? Does she have a job?
she's a teacher.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, she's a high school English teacher, and so
Yeah, she'd be able to eat.
no, she'd be able to eat. But that's the story I'm telling myself.
Yeah.
You get it. You're an entrepreneur. You
I get it.
It's yeah. You're just like I gotta make sure that she can eat.
Yeah. Is there anything that she does to support you that makes you feel really confident about what you're doing?
She tells me that she's proud of me a lot, which is huge.
It is huge.
My
Sounds small, but it's huge.
it's huge, man. Like I have done a lot of rumination and a lot of work on this, and it's like I grew up with a single dad, and I was really going for his approval because I was his shadow,
Mm.
and so hearing the words like I'm proud of you, like, have always just hit me like a train wreck. And, yeah, like, she tells me that she's proud of me. She recognizes both verbally and just, like, interactions, uh, reaffirms that the work that I'm doing is not for nothing.
Mhm.
That's big.
Yeah.
And then she's "Hey, I would sleep with you under a bridge."
Yeah.
And so you talk about, like, secure attachment. It's like
Mhm.
she's given me 0 reason to ever be insecure in our relationship. I didn't That's why I asked earlier, can those roles change? Because I was really insecure when we first started dating, and then now I'm the most secure. Like,
Mhm.
the whole, like, "Hey," there is no, like, "Hey, can I go out with my girls?" It's more like, "Hey, like, I'm gonna go out with my girls, cool?" And then I'm like, "Of course, go, have fun."
Yeah. Yeah, there is some nuance there
For
that
sure.
a partner who makes you feel safe
Yeah.
can help you move the needle. So my default attachment is avoidant attachment. My partner's so amazing. She brings me way more towards the secure side of things. She
Yeah.
often jokes that she doesn't believe that I'm avoidantly attached because I show up so secure, but that's because of her.
Right, it's like, no, I'm telling you, like, before I met you, I was a totally different guy. That's true. And so, yeah, I don't know. She's awesome, man. I can't wait to marry her.
I love that.
I'm really
And I
excited.
love hearing men talk about why a committed relationship is a benefit because there is so much casual dating going on. There are so many options. And I don't think that there are enough men who are out there explaining why this other path is a valuable path.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's for me, I wake up and I'm like, "Man, thank God I'm not single." Because if I was single, I wouldn't know what to do necessarily.
Mm,
Um, there's a really big stigma, and I know that this isn't true, but it sits right free in my mind where every girl my age has multiple failed relationships and they've got daddy issues and they've got this thing or that thing and oh her body count is too high, right? Like you hear this a lot. And then I see my friends and like some of them are in healthy relationships, some of them are in not healthy relationships and like potentially getting their heart broken. Yeah. And so it's like, man, I'm very thankful that I'm in the sweet spot where I have none of those things. But I know that dating a girl when you're 17 and in high school is no longer an option for these guys. And so I don't know how to fix their problem.
sure. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Are you talking specifically about they're in this casual dating cycle now because they didn't find their girl early on?
Yeah, I mean, because like I was telling you before, they ask me advice
Yeah.
sometimes, and I'm like, dude, I grew up with her. Like, I can't give you advice. You're talking like apples to watermelons, man. Like
Yeah.
it's totally different ball game. Which is again, thank you for coming on. Like I'm
Sure.
excited to have you on. But I don't know, like what's your
So
should men have hope right now?
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, of course.
Man, there are so many great girls out there.
Mm.
And I think when people just have the strategy of online dating and they're sitting in the room and they're just swiping, that's not the way to do it. That yields such low percentage results. You're going to have much better results by getting out there in the world and meeting people, and you're going to level yourself up by going through those reps of having social interactions. So, yes, there is hope. It requires you to actually get out there and do something, put yourself in uncomfortable positions, and yeah.
Why do shows like Love Island have such a low success rate?
I don't understand the question. You mean like in terms of the couples actually lasting?
Mhm.
Oh, because they're all crazy, man.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know, like my dad married my stepmom when I was like 9 or 10. I was like 10, and she loved watching The Bachelorette. And I called it out at 10. I was like, these people aren't gonna last.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, but people watch those shows and they think, oh, if I can just get in an environment where everything is romanticized,
Mm.
then it will work.
Yeah, man. I think that the whole social media thing has become a problem. I guess I'll throw the Bachelorette and Bachelor like into that concept. There's a difference between real life and what we see on social media and specifically about romanticizing things. I think again we have this idea of perfection And we think that if we just swipe for long enough, if we just date for long enough, we'll find this perfect person. And that just doesn't exist. And the idea of this Disney fairy tale relationship and the meet cute and all of these things, it's not real. And the reality is you're going to meet how you're going to meet. You're going to have conflict in the relationship. You're going to be with a flawed person.
Mm-hmm.
We are flawed people too.
Very much so.
So I don't understand when people expect to be with a perfect person because we all recognize that we have flaws. So what would a perfect person want to do with us if we end up finding that unicorn perfect person?
Yeah. Talk more about that. Why do dating apps suck so bad?
Yeah, man. Well, the biggest problem is it perpetuates the infinite option problem. So we think that because we are swiping through all these profiles ad infinitum, that again, if we just date for long enough, we'll find this perfect person. And we're not built for that. We're from an evolutionary perspective, we're not meant to have this many options. And as an example, you can go out on a really good date with someone and then you'll go home and you'll see what else is out there on the apps, right? So there's this fear of missing out, like this what else is out there. And then there's this thing where you go on that first date, and if there's any one thing that this person shows that is a yellow flag or a red flag, you're out. It's like, oh, well, they don't like sports, so or they don't like. I had a buddy of mine went on a date that I set him up with, and he was like, she doesn't like to dance. I was like, and that's a really important thing for him. But is that really the thing that you should disqualify your partner over? It's like, you go dance and she'll go hang out with her girls. And then you guys will find other activities you're interested in. Like that type of thing doesn't matter. So I think we have a really hard time with all of these options, understanding what is actually important. And we're just constantly distracted by like the shiny thing and trying to find the very best that we can get.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting because I have played basketball for 14 years now. The game was the first thing that I ever really fully loved. My girlfriend does not like basketball. And does it drive me crazy? Yes. But at the same time, she says, I don't like basketball, but I love watching you play basketball.
Oh, that's sweet.
And it's like, I know, right?
Yeah.
But that's so cool for her to say because she doesn't like watching me play basketball because of basketball, but she likes watching me do the thing that I'm passionate about. It's how I feel when she talks about her being a teacher. My parents are teachers. It's a great profession, super honorable. We need better teachers, but I don't look at the teaching profession and be like, man, I could do this for the rest of my life. But when she talks about it and she talks about the relationship that she has with her students, it's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
We're here.
That's a really attractive quality on someone's fired up about something.
It's the best.
Yeah.
It really is.
And I think men, like, the question is, what do women want? Like at the end of the day, we all want to know, like, what do women want?
First, we all know what men want. What's that? We all know what men want.
We all know what men want. Although it is a little nuanced too, like for sure. Yeah, but it's interesting. I mean, let's talk about that first. So like, yeah, 100%. The number one thing that men want is physical attraction, for sure. And men think that women want that in the exact same way with the exact same intensity. And that's not true. So men also want women who are warm and nurturing and kind. So like the physical attraction is not going to avoid us wanting those things. But yeah, men, it is like the most important thing that we go to first. And men think that women want men who are like the most attractive guys. And it's like, yeah, there might be this like initial pull towards the over 6 foot, 6-pack abs type of guy, right? But men who are ambitious, who are going for things, who are kind and intelligent and funny and self-aware and emotionally intelligent and can connect with women, that I talk with a lot of women. And I was just talking with my friend this morning and I was telling her I was going on this podcast and she was like, can you just like tell men to ask questions when they're on a date? I'm on so many dates where the guy doesn't ask me a single question about myself and it becomes a bit of a game of like, how can I tell like the craziest thing, like throw out the craziest thing and see if he'll ask me a question about it and he doesn't, right? So it's like, guys, like show up authentically, be curious, ask questions about this person, listen to their answers, ask follow-up questions, learn how to engage with women as human beings. And I promise you, like, those are attractive qualities women will be into you. It's not about like, okay, I'm not over 6 foot and I don't have six-pack abs and I'm not filthy rich, so I have no chance. It's like, that's not true. Women don't, they're not wired in the same way that we are when we focus on attraction.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about the 6 foot, six pack abs, and six figures.
Let's do it.
The Do you know what the statistics are around that?
Hit me.
Around that? So it's insane, man. So
You're talking about how few men actually
yeah,
are? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
like 2% of men have six pack abs.
Okay.
Okay, 15% of men are 6 foot or taller. 17% of men make a six-figure income, and so the overall percentage is 0.02 times 0.15 times 0.17, and you're looking at 0.00051
Uh-huh.
as a percentage point of men who satisfy all three characteristics.
Sure.
And then I hear these guys be like, "Oh, that's what women want." And I'm like, "That's the ideal,
Sure.
sure, but we also want girls with, perfect bodies and 2% body, like, no stomach, and we want her to be like warm and nurturing and a caretaker and whatever, and we don't want her to focus too much on her career and all these things." And it's like, dude, you have the same level of expectation. Hers can just be put into an Instagram caption.
Well said, man. 100%. It's the same on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if someone is sitting around and they have all these expectations in their head, what would be your first piece of advice to them?
Oh, that the expectation being this is what women want.
This is what women want, and then this is what I want out of women. And so, what percentage of those things do you think could be satisfied for it to make sense? Because some of those things should be satisfied, right? Like if a girl is like the six figures and the six pack abs, like, okay, whatever. Your husband at some point in his life is not going to have a six pack, and so what then? But like,
Oh, you're saying
if I'm a guy, and like a deal breaker for me is if I don't get the sense that she would be a good mom. I feel that's a valid deal breaker,
yeah, yeah.
right? So what do you think have you seen are some valid deal breakers, and then some where it's like you should just compromise?
Oh, dude, great question. So there are some core questions that one can ask themselves to determine whether they should stay in a relationship or get out, or whether they should date this person or continue dating this person and get out. And one of those things is, do I enjoy spending time with this person? And these are very broad questions. And the purpose for that is because if we have all these narratives in our heads around like, okay, well, they have to like camping or they have to be funny, or okay, if you just zoom out and you're like, do I like spending a lot of time with this person? Yes. Okay, great. Then we're done. Like, if it really is important to me that they be funny or they like camping, then that'll come out in the broader question. The answer would be like, no, I don't really like spending a lot of time with them because I spend a lot of my time camping. And so it just doesn't work. Right. Another one is, do I feel calm around this person? If our nervous system is constantly triggered, no matter what type of qualifications they have on paper, if they're 6 foot tall and they have 6 foot abs and like they're rich or whatever, but I'm constantly nervous about the relationship and I don't really like the way they treat me and I'm always on edge. How are you going to be in a relationship for the rest of your life with this person? It doesn't matter what attributes that they have. And so if you zoom out and you're like, do I feel calm around this person? The answer is yes. Great. If the answer is no, like, kind of have your answer, right? Unless there are some conversations that you can have very openly with them to change that. So there are some definitely other things. I think I have like 7 questions. There was an Instagram post I did where I had like the 7 questions to ask yourself, and these are kind of the broad questions. But like these are valid deal breakers. These are things that get around core values, attachment styles, life goals. Like, what do you want your life to look like? And so if you want kids and you're dating someone who doesn't want kids, like, what are you doing if you're both looking for a long-term relationship, right? Or if they're not a very kind or nurturing person and those are core values of yours, or being generous is a core value and they're not a very generous person. Um, and you envision like having people over to your house and entertaining and like being very generous with your time and hosting and all that kind of stuff, and you don't have a partner who's going to align with that, that's a valid deal breaker. But things like, you know, they don't like to dance, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, or like physical things that they can't control, like the whole 6 foot thing, right? Like, oh, if he's 5'11", but he has every other thing in the world, then you're not gonna date. Like, that sounds ridiculous.
So, look, we all have our preferences,
Of
right? And
course.
I guess the question would be, are these valid in real life? Like, can you not be attracted to someone who's under 6 foot? I think that the answer for some women is going to be yes.
Mhm.
And that's perfectly okay in the same way that we have our preferences on attraction,
Totally.
right? And actually, height is just a big deal for guys in terms of women. Man, so many guys in my database where I say, like, what is the tallest woman that you would date? And like, they're not going to date someone who's taller than they are. So, like, the tall thing happens on both sides.
Totally.
So what I would say though to, in this example, women, about the height thing is, A, have you ever dated a guy who is like under your height requirement? And could you really not get over that? And if we really peel back the layers of, well, what is the attraction around height? What does that provide you as a feeling? And a lot of times, mainly the answer I get is, I get this feeling of like, yeah, protection or safety. He's like bigger than me and he can kind of like, take care of me. And like that at its core, from a biological wiring standpoint, women want to feel safe and protected. So, are there other ways that men can show up that can provide that same feeling of safety and protection? And the answer is absolutely yes. Like, I have a buddy of mine who, I think he's like 5'7", and he's a rugby player. And he'll like throw his, wife over his shoulder and like, run around the room. And like, he's also like a very, very confident in himself guy. And he's ambitious and he goes for what he wants and he's successful because of those qualities. And she finds that attractive. And I think a lot of women who initially have this like hard, like no one under 6 foot, it's like, well, okay, if you meet someone in real life in your communities and like all of a sudden you get to know this person and he has all these qualities that make you feel good,
Mhm.
that you can build that attraction. And so what I would say to the men on the flip side of that is, don't be discouraged by, the whole conversation online, which there's only a fraction of that that's a reality anyway. But don't be discouraged. Like, get out there, get to know people, and you are going to attract the women who are authentically attracted to your authentic self.
Right. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like, again, I have a very weird perspective on all this because I got it out of the way pretty early. But I think one thing that drives me crazy is, and it makes me upset more than anything, is like when you have guys who are like in their 40s, and then you have like women in their 40s, and they, if they were to have a kid now, like it would be like a geriatric pregnancy and all this stuff. And then they're still just like, I don't have a person. And, I actually have women in my life currently who I'm like, I gently tell them like, "Hey, I think your parameters are a little too tight, and I think maybe you should," like, girl I know, great friend. Um, she's afraid to go on a date with a blue collar worker because she feels like she feels like she's gonna like the guy, uh, first off,
Okay.
but her ideal is New York money.
Yeah, yeah.
That's her ideal.
Sure.
And I'm like, "I get it." But, like, give the guy a chance. So what? He puts up roofs. Like, he makes good money. He's good with his hands. Like, he's strong.
Mm.
So, like, just give it a shot. I don't know. But again, I try to bro science my way through all of this dating
Agree with
stuff.
you completely.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I think again, for in that specific situation, it's like, well, let's peel back the layers. Like, what are you really after?
Yeah.
And it's likely that sense of like security and safety. And she's afraid. She has all these narratives. She's made up stories around what it would mean to date a blue collar worker. And it's like, you are likely wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever heard of, like, the olive theory?
No.
It's not mine. It's from How I Met Your Mother.
Okay.
Um, the olive theory, and so it's have you ever watched How I Met Your Mother?
Like handful of episodes.
Great show. Strongly recommend.
Okay.
But there's this married couple, Marshall and Lily, and they're describing why their marriage works.
Okay.
And I believe Lily loves olives, and Marshall hates them. And Ted, the main character, is describing that's why they work, because one person in the relationship loves olives and the other person hates them.
Mm-hmm.
before I finish the story, do you think that there's a lot of validity in that?
Um, I'll say this. I mean, I don't know if the takeaway from that is the differences in relationships can help each other grow and add richness to each other's lives. If that's the takeaway, then yeah, 100%. And I have examples in my own relationship that I sure absolutely give. Is that the takeaway that you're saying?
That's the whole takeaway. And so they go through this episode and they're kind of like following the arc of their marriage and whatever, and they're seeing how it's great. And then at the end, uh, whoever it was that said that they didn't like olives, they actually love olives. Okay. So the whole oh yeah, exactly. And so the whole episode is just saying like,
Oh, that's really sweet.
yeah, you don't actually know. That's the whole point of the episode is that you don't actually know. And so, so what if this person is a horror movie person and you're an action movie person?
Yeah, yeah.
That's not a deal breaker.
Right.
And also just be upfront about it from the jump. That's so I wanted to bring that up because I figured you liked that a lot.
I love that's the sweetness at the end of that. That's like I pretended that I didn't like olives, but like you could have all the olives.
Right.
That,
Yeah.
but one thing I'll say from my own personal experience is that my girlfriend is a type of woman that I never would have expected to be with, and that is why it works because I had all these narratives in my head of who I should be with, and it was always it was based on my interactions with my mother and my sisters and other women that I had in my life. And I had this image in my head of like, oh, okay, this is the type of person that I should be with. And it was based probably mainly on just like familiarity. And so I was used to very type A. They would make Excel spreadsheets about the vacation that we were going to go on. And like, I admire that a lot. Like, there's a lot of, I like analytical thinking. And so I would seek out women who had that. Well, okay, there's also a overlap in that type A personality and anxious attachment that does not mesh with me. And the girlfriend that I'm with now, and I like actively sought out a pattern interrupt, something like a different way, a different type of person. She is so type B. She, drives with an open coffee cup in her mug, which like freaks me out. And like, but that adds a lot to my life because she influences me to slow down and to appreciate the present moment. And she is so different than me in those ways that adds so much to my life. I think it was like the first weekend that we spent together. At the end of the night, she like sat down on the kitchen floor and was like, "Come down here with me." And I was like, this is kind of weird. But then it was like oddly like just nice to just sit on the floor in the kitchen with this girl and like have a conversation. And like I think our feet were touching or something. It's like my type A girlfriends in the past like would have been like, let's sit on the couch and let's, whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the point being we think we know what we want, but we can often be surprised.
That's awesome. So do you think that the concept of a soulmate is valid?
No.
Agreed. Okay, cool. I've been a real stickler on the soulmate crap. I don't know. My girlfriend asked me this a long time ago, and the conversation did not go how she thought it was going to go. And I basically all I said was, no, I think there's probably 50,000 women in the world that I could marry.
You did the math. I love it.
Yeah, ballpark, right? Probably 50,000 women I could marry and probably be really happy with.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm choosing you.
Yeah.
That's where the magic is, I feel like. And again, I'm 22 years old. I don't know shit. But like,
You seem pretty wise for 22, man.
well, thank you. I don't know. I think that's where the magic is. It's like, yes, no, the concept of soulmate is not real. And that's why this works. That's why this is romantic. That's why I buy you flowers. Right? Like, what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I agree completely. We are choosing each other, right? And you are choosing this package of really awesome attributes that work really well and flaws that conflict
Yeah.
with me. And I am choosing that package. You are an amazing package for me. And you are not the only package for me. There are other women out there that have these amazing qualities and they will also have flaws. And so I'm going all in on this option because it's good.
Yeah, for sure, because it's really good. So when someone comes to you and I'm curious on what your role, because I know that you collect these people kind of like Pokemon, I guess, and then you kind of match them together, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a Pokemon guy, but that just came to mind. But you're getting this database of people, and then you're kind of matchmaking them. What does the process look like on your end?
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a vetting process at first. So people will fill out an application, and it's only people who are dating intentionally. And so through their answers, I get a sense of that. And I also look through their Instagram profiles. I do a little bit of digging to see who are they friends with, who are the type of people they're hanging out with, what does their life look like. And I know there's only so much you can tell from Instagram, but you can get a shade of it. And then I will also see if we have any mutuals in common. And sometimes I will reach out to a mutual and say, hey, is this a quality person? Are they dating intentionally? And if I get the thumbs up, then I will invite them to join. And then they fill out a questionnaire. It takes about 20 minutes. And it tells me more about who they are. I care much less about what they think they want. We just had a conversation about that. I want to know who they are, and then I want to find them a match that I believe fits with who they are. And then what I do is I send them emails and say, here's a picture of this person. Here's what you match up on. I don't give them a bio of like, here's what they do for a living. Here's how tall they are. Here's whatever.
Got
Because again, I don't want them to create narratives about who this person is. And if I didn't have to send a picture, if people would just trust me to just set them up in real life, I would do it completely blind. The whole thing is I want them to meet in person. I want their first impression to be in person as much as possible. And I've found that that's where the magic is. It's people learning about each other from each other without those narratives. And I think one other thing that is different about this is that when we're dating online, for example, we walk into the date looking for reasons why this isn't a match. We look for the red flags.
Hmm.
Whereas in this type of environment, there's this curiosity of like, oh, why did Danny match us together? And they're looking for the green flags. They're looking for why they're compatible. And that mindset, that shift tends towards positivity and things working out.
That's genius.
Thank you.
That's
Well,
genius.
I'm
Wow.
trying, man.
That's awesome.
Uh,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's like the Tony Robbins, close your eyes and then open them up and look for red, and then close them and then look for green.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yes.
That's really smart. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I never saw that side of why you do it the way that you do it. That's cool. How
Thanks.
long do you hold their hands for?
I don't.
Okay.
I want to make sure that people feel comfortable that I'm not going to interfere and have my fingers in it, right? So
Right.
just like, look, I'm making an introduction. You guys take it from there. The only thing that I do is I collect data after the first date. There's a short questionnaire that tells me, A, do you want to go out on another date with this person? So I know if it was a success from both sides. And then if they don't want to go out on a, well, and then I also say, what did you like about this person? So I can get some data on, well, like, how did I match you guys well?
Hmm.
If it's a no, I don't want to go out on a date with this person, then I ask some more detailed questions about why so that I can then narrowly tailor matches to them in the future. So I can get some more data. And there was one other thing. Oh, an important question too is this the type of person that you would recommend to a friend? And that's a very important question because if the answer is no, and that happens very, very rarely, but if the answer is no, it's like there might be something wrong with this person. And if I get a couple data points like that, sometimes it only takes one, especially if I was on the fence about this person anyway, then I just remove them from the database.
Right.
And this is like a whole other tangent that we don't have to go down, but I think that the dating apps do a really bad job of this concept of accountability. So it's just strangers meeting and whatever happens, happens. And it's like, no, I want to know if yeah, I know there's a reporting function with like Hinge, but I want to know if this is like a quality person dating intentionally. And if they're not, I don't want them in the database.
Yeah.
So with that question, I'm able to vet people further.
So when someone comes to you and they throw up what you view as kind of like a red flag data point or something like that, or they come to you and they say, "Yeah, I'm looking for a girl with this, this, and this."
Mhm.
How much pushback do you apply?
I don't.
Okay.
I mean, coaching is a completely different animal,
Right.
and there are things I absolutely want to say to them, but they're not asking me to do that, and so I'm not gonna offer it. The other thing that I would love to do, because I'll get feedback from women about guys and from guys about women, I would love to tell them, "You have these blind spots, and I could accelerate your how you show up in dating and relationships if you knew these things about yourself." But it's a very sensitive thing. You can't just like say, "Hey, can I tell you everything that's wrong about you?"
Yeah. Right, because yeah, no, you're right. I mean, you're running a business, like, people aren't asking for that. That's totally fair. The overachiever maximizer in me, I would probably no, if someone comes to you and they're like, "Hey, tell me what you're seeing about me."
Mhm.
Would you apply that then?
Still no, because the reason why people are so honest with their feedback is because they know I'm not sharing it.
Right.
And I think specifically for women, there's a safety issue. So if a woman were to say like, "Hey, this guy, blah blah blah, like doesn't dress well, like isn't funny enough, isn't interesting, whatever," and I'm like, "Oh, hey, Susie said all these things about you," like there's a safety issue. If some
Understood.
guys
Yes,
don't act well.
yes, from women's feedback about men and vice versa. But what if I'm going to you and based on just the one-sided interaction between me and you,
Oh, yeah.
if someone is asking like, "Hey, what do you think?" Then would you
I'd be happy to provide that.
yeah. Yeah, because it's like I don't know. I mean, it's love is not a mathematical formula, right? But it seems like you do kind of have a grip on like success and whatnot. When do you view, or when would you call a relationship successful?
According to my like business model, sure. If both people say yes to the first date and want to go out on the second date, then I've successfully matched them, right? So and that's actually, I'm the only model that does this where it's a pay for success. So literally I say, you can enter the database. Like once I vet you, if like you're approved, um, I will literally send you matches. You can say no and you still don't owe me any money. You can even go out on the first date. And if I did a poor job, if you aren't interested in this person and they're not interested in you back, I still haven't earned my money. But if you guys both say yes to a second date, you connected, then I've earned the money.
You're the only one that does that?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
And you know what's crazy? Men still will not join the database. When I reach out to them, I'm like, "Hey, man, I curate a group of the most eligible singles in Austin who are dating intentionally. You interested?" No. Well, I've got like the most beautiful women in my database. Like, it's incredible. Like, trust me, I think you're going to be really impressed. And you don't pay anything until like you literally want to go out on a second date with them. Nah, man, I'm good.
Egomaniacs, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. Because if you, I'm thinking, if I'm a single guy and you reached out to me, I don't want to go back home to mom and dad and tell them that I joined a dating site.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, it's like in terms of effectiveness and fast tracking it and getting the benefits of being in a committed relationship, it makes sense.
There are rational decisions and there are emotional decisions. And men complain all the time about like women making emotional decisions, but we do it equally, just
For sure.
different ways.
Just in a different way. Yeah. Yeah, man. So where I guess like where is I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. When you're matchmaking people here in Austin, what are some of like the common trends that you're seeing in terms of, I guess, like age range, or are you getting more women than men? What are kind of the things that are going right for them? What's going wrong for them? What's like your 30,000-foot view of the Austin dating scene?
Yeah. One is that there are more women who are dating intentionally than men.
Okay.
That's both in my experience
That's
with
surprising. Okay.
really.
To From the narratives that I hear around young men, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I go on Hinge as a woman, so like in other words, a woman looking for men on Hinge, the percentage of men who have long-term relationship or life partner on their profiles is significantly less than if you look at women who have long-term relationship or life partner. So just from a statistical standpoint there, there is a vast difference. And then the men that I talk to join my service, I get kind of two answers. One is the ego reason why they don't want to join, which is like, I don't want to feel like I need help dating. And it's like, dude, it's not about that. It's about like making introductions to high quality people. Um, and then the other is like, I'm just kind of like doing my own thing, dating casually, right? And by the way, there's nothing wrong with dating casually. Like if you're figuring things out and you're in a different place, but like I just want to say, because I have the opportunity on this podcast, like, men, just be honest about it. Don't hide the ball. You think that that's going to eliminate your chances of like getting what you want. It's actually going to get you more of what you want in a authentic, kind, honest way. Just let everyone be on the same page. All right. That was a tangent, but I had to say that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's in sales we call it 8 miling.
What was that?
We 8 mile the objection. So have you seen 8 Mile?
Yeah, yeah.
Eminem movie when he starts rapping about all the things that's wrong with him.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the person doesn't have anything to say it away from them.
Yeah.
That's what we call it in sales, like objection handling. We call it 8 miling the objection. So before they say anything, it's yeah. I mean, we've got 4.1 star reviews, but it's like, you know, we're in the service industry. Like some people get upset, blah blah blah. And so you handle the objection before they have anything to say about it. So then there's nothing to say but yes.
Cool.
Yeah, and so like I imagine that would work really well in the dating scene.
Tell me more. Like,
Well, in terms of the I'm looking for something casual. Like I am just trying to kind of hang out, like leave my options open. I'm not looking for super in-depth relationship right now. I think even a woman who is looking for depth, they can respect that and appreciate it.
yeah, 100%. And here's the thing. Yes, you are going to deter a percentage of women who are not on the same page. Like, hey, that's not what I'm looking for. Yeah, great. Well, then you don't have to deal with that emotional turmoil of, oh, geez, like I feel like I'm hiding the ball and I feel bad about it. And there's like this like weirdness, and you get to avoid all that. That's a good thing. And you also like help another person avoid you doing that to them, right? And when you're honest about your intentions, again, you are gonna attract people who have the same intention, and you can have a more honest, deeper experience with them because everything's open and on the table, and there's no shortage of women who are up for having casual relationships.
Yeah.
And again, like it's just people's phases in their lives, and that's fine. I just want to make sure that I'm adding to the conversation and saying, hey, there are benefits for being in committed relationships. And I just want to make sure that we know what those are.
100%.
Yeah.
The one thing that's kind of taken a grip on Reddit commentaries and things like that is the rise of like incel culture.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it fully.
Mm-hmm.
I think more so it's they're voluntarily sexless.
Okay. I thought it was like involuntarily, like,
Well,
because they feel like the cards are against them.
I think so. It's now turned on its head.
Okay.
Where it's at least this is my understanding
Oh, yeah.
from the research that I've done. It was they're involuntarily sexless. Because you know they have low self-esteem, they're overweight, underwear in their mom's basement stereotype, right?
Right.
But now it's no, I'm choosing to be sexless as like a stance against women.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates all kinds of problems. Go.
Well, I would imagine that a large percentage of them who claim to be voluntarily sexless are still involuntarily sexless.
Yes.
Or, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that they have the skills or the ability, and they're using this as an excuse. And that's a common human thing to do, right? It's like if we feel insecure about something, we have to put the mirror up to ourselves and really analyze the flaws in ourselves that we can't do something, or we feel unconfident about this thing. We blame someone else. And so I think that for the men who feel that insecurity, feel that fear of failure in social situations, or that fear of rejection, they hear all this stuff on social media and they hear these voices saying, oh, it's women's fault. It's not your fault. It's women's fault. And that's so easy to latch onto and say, oh yeah, because like my ego isn't damaged. My ego's intact. It's someone else's fault. And I would say that, if anyone practices stoicism, it's like, okay, well, are you just gonna sit there in front of the boulder, like, and not do anything? Because you're just gonna sit there and be lonely in your life. Like, or you can start taking some action, whether you're right or wrong about the situation. Let's say hypothetically that the cards are stacked against you, and you can sit on the sidelines and not play the game, or you can get in the game and do your very best and overcome those obstacles. And so I think that it would benefit a lot of men to just go ahead and take action, and whether they believe that the cards are stacked against them or not.
As far as local ecosystem, things that if I were single, right? Things that I can do to increase my odds of finding a match outside of, yes, going out, meeting more people, all those kinds of things. But locally, internally, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. What does my day look like for me to improve my odds of finding a woman?
Yeah, well, be a well-rounded person. I mean, if we really get to the core of what women want, we talked about a guy who provides safety and, you know, can indicate protection and things like that. It's like, okay, well, what does the currency of that look like today in this modern dating culture? And it's men who can make women feel safe emotionally, that can hold space for women when women are emotional and they need a man to be their rock and listen to them and support them. And a lot of that requires self-awareness, and like there, I would say like a very tangible thing would be a meditation practice. I mean, that is how one cultivates self-awareness, is distinguishing ourselves from our thoughts. And it's the ability to zoom out and go, oh, okay, like my thoughts are not who I am. And then from there you can go, are these thoughts even real? Like, no, our thoughts are not reality. It's our perception of reality. And then you can, like, based on that, you can grow, and you can hold that mirror up to yourself and you can say, hey, these are the things I need to improve. So that's a long answer to your question, but I think it starts with being able to hold the mirror up to ourselves and saying, where do I even need to grow? And then I'll add one more thing to that, as if this wasn't long enough. But the definition of teachability is the openness to learn times the openness to change. And I think men struggle a lot in dating and relationships within those categories being teachable. I find men in this area are way less teachable than women. And it's because of that ego thing again, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's inherent from an evolutionary perspective or whether it's a social thing, we feel like we need to have all the answers already. And if we don't, then it's a character flaw, and then we're really hard on ourselves. So here's the thing. We don't know what we're doing. Dating and relationships is incredibly complicated. Even just social interactions are incredibly complicated. And most of us did not have an experience where our dad at a very young age was like, go hug that girl's leg. Um, you got the reps in, but you got
That I
that
did.
really early.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So
And not only that, but when I did it, I saw women be like, "Aw, so cute." And so I learned women like when you take the first step
yeah,
internally. And then, oh, hey, now my dad's dating a cheerleader for the Nashville Predators hockey team, and we get ringside seats. Yes. It's like, so the slot machine lever hit sevens early for me.
right.
And it's like, that's not normal. That's why I'm having you on.
Well,
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, in my experience, I also had to learn. So I didn't have that experience where I was young, and I had to learn that the hard way, and it was just failing, man. And one example would be learning how to dance, and like, so in addition to all the self work that guys should do in becoming self aware and for the love of God, like, read the book Attached and make friendships with women. I could go on. There are a lot of things like that, but um, learning how to dance as just like a way to meet women, and if you're doing so authentically, like I want you to actually like dancing. Don't just do it to meet women. But that is a superpower because you can meet a lot of women in a space. And when you actually interact with them, you're leading them around the dance floor. That makes them feel safe and protected. And that gets the core of like, if you can make a woman feel safe and protected, man, you're way ahead of the game. So that's a side tip.
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah. You want to meet women and have a long stable relationship. Learn how to dance.
Yeah.
Which I'm a terrible dancer, but I'll take your advice on that. She'd probably love if I learned how to dance. Danny, thank you for coming on the show, man. This was a great conversation. I knew I was going to enjoy it. I didn't know I was going to enjoy it as much as I have. So thank you for coming on the show, man. Where can everyone find your stuff?
Crux Compatible is my Instagram. That's a great place to start.
Awesome. Danny, thanks, man.
Thanks, Jackson.